Yeah, so you know, if the rest of you guys split, we could all just partner up with Trav Film, and like, I mean, these jumps are already built, so you know, it's really just a matter of going out and just sessioning, and these guys are pros. Yeah, I mean, that's my gut feeling is just to stick with our plan and not try to, you know, start from scratch again, because I think we've been out there, we know the snow's good, we know what's going on, we're confident what we can do at least. And then just to reset a whole new plan right now would be kind of counterproductive.
Probably around the time of like Subject Hawkinson and those movies, he moved to Jackson Hole, which is like the big mountain mecca as far as the lower 48 states goes. And here's a guy who consciously went against what was marketable about him, what his sponsors expected of him, but he did what he had to do as a snowboarder.
I know, like, we went to Jackson Hole, actually. I remember the trip. It was with Standard Films. We were filming for, I think it was TB5. And we had a really sick week in Jackson Hole. It was super sick, like powder, epic. We were filming on the resort and stuff. And I think he just fell in love with the place, you know? And he just made a decision to just live there, you know, and just became a mountain man.
And I believe that next year, I believe that's when I think Burton dropped him, basically for moving to Jackson Hole, of all things. Like, oh, you could never be a professional snowboarder out there, you know. It's like, he was so ahead of his time. And I think that he really found himself in a lot of ways and what his snowboarding was going to be about.
You know, he moved there at a time when his career was pretty high, and he didn't just move there, he disappeared there. And he didn't go there for fame and glory. He went there for mountains and snow.
I was at a point where I felt stagnant in my riding, and I saw the only progression is, you know, be a big mountain freestyle snowboarder, you know, and that was where I saw the sport going, and that's why I wanted my film parts to be able to get these tricks off cliffs or off natural kickers in the backcountry, and that's what I saw, you know, was my progression.
He was a pretty big deal. Jackson was still pretty low-key at that time. And I don't know, I've always been like pretty protective of this place. And so when he moved here, like, I don't know if I was like threatened by some big name coming here or just like kind of worried about him like blowing this place out or something, but I kind of gave him a pretty hard time when he moved here. I don't even know if he even like knew I was vibing him, but I was just kind of a dick to him.
I had a realization, I think, that I was a professional snowboarder. I didn't really know anything about the mountains, you know? I knew how to ride a snowboard, I knew how to do tricks, but I didn't know anything about avalanches or what was possible, you know, or how to get around the mountain safely, or the reality sank in that, man, this is a dangerous pursuit, and, you know, I gotta get to know what I'm, you know, riding, and I wanted to explore more of the backcountry, you know?
He played it so cool, you know, like he didn't come into town and just like bring all these crews in and do all this shit, whatever. He like laid really low and just kind of like naturally became part of the scene, you know. We're like, this guy's got to be pretty cool if he gave up like all this fame and stuff in California to come out here and just hide out and ride powder.
It was kind of like a career suicide in a sense. You know, it was taking myself out of everything that I had built, the snowboard park, you know, freestyle snowboarding thing, and just going exactly opposite. I wanted to keep snowboarding fun for myself, not for necessarily my sponsors. I saw a different way to progress.
He was the first rider to sit there and put his money where his mouth was. A lot of people were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna work on big mountain freestyle and make it technical in the big mountains. He really laid it all on the line, and for a while, I mean, he kind of paid the price because it wasn't what his sponsors at the time wanted from him. So he was kind of like in the wilderness as far as that's concerned, but I mean, he was riding every day.
He was here for a while, you know, I think his sponsors were cool with it, whatever, and then it just seemed like at one point, it was just like a domino effect of his sponsors like dropping him, you know? And at one point he was like printing t-shirts for Bluebird, getting like $10 an hour, you know? Like he was just like back in the working class, you know, dealing with like, what the fuck do I do now?
I just kept snowboarding because whether I was making good money or not, I was still doing whatever I had to do to snowboard. You know, I started apprenticing as a sushi chef and working at the local sushi bar, and just you know, I just kept riding though, regardless of what was going on with my sponsors or with, you know, my career, I guess. It was just more about the riding.
And it was just like kind of a crazy winter because you would just kind of see like this aftermath of that crew up on the mountain, you know? And that's kind of like when I started to like maybe really have a lot of respect for him. You didn't see those guys hit anything, but you just saw their lines and people would be like, oh yeah, Gooch did this today and Johan did that. And I was kind of bummed at that point that I was like such a dick to him, you know, because I was like, I want to go shred with those dudes, you know?
We were out at Teton Village riding here in Jackson. One day we were out there in the morning and they used to have this tram tower that had a clock with a bell on it. And it would ring like every hour. It would like gong, gong, you know. My buddy and I were walking along the path, going up to the ski resort. Rolling up, my buddy like stops me and we both look up and here's Johan and Bryan Iguchi like walking. And it was so weird. I remember it so specifically to this day. Right at that moment, dude, the hour clock gonged. And it was like, I think it was 9 gongs long. It was like right at the beginning of the day and just gong. This thing was like, it was slow motion, and sure enough, Bryan and Johan all of a sudden go walking along.
As a snowboarder, that was the only way I was going to progress. It wasn't going to be doing another rotation off a jump. I wasn't really that interested in continuing to keep spinning into oblivion. I wanted to be able to ride a big mountain, and be able to ride a steep line, and be able to do tricks within that line. And basically, Travis Rice is exactly what I wanted to be. It's kind of funny. I might not have achieved it, but it was cool seeing him do it.
Seeing Gooch every now and then, even though he was a resident at that point, it was kind of like seeing an albino buffalo or something rare, something mystical. Perhaps, I don't know, some type of horse with a horn coming straight out. He was a mystical creature. They lived in Jackson. You never saw him, though. It's like an owl.
My riding's evolved, and it's still evolving. I'm progressing more on trying to educate myself and get my head wrapped around the mountains, and trying to do what I do and do it safely and be, you know, it's all timing in the mountains, and you know, you gotta get out there when it's good, and you gotta know when to pull back.
So yeah, years went on, and the Gooch actually took me into the backcountry for the first time. Later that year, the same filmer, Rich Goodwin, actually invited me down to tag along with Lance Pittman and Bryan Iguchi, go to Super Park, which was this big event that they do in Mammoth Lakes, California, which is like this big park they build. They invite all the pros in the world, come shred, and went down there. I wasn't invited, but Gooch was able to have some kind words with the guys that were putting the event on and got me in, and I ended up, after like 5 or 6 days, getting MVP of Super Park, which is kind of how I got started in snowboarding.
These photos were taken by Ari Makopoulos in, I think, 1997. Yeah, this is kind of the first years here in Jackson, and we have like Jamie Lynn and Terry, Johan. Johan actually lived here for a little bit then, like in 97. Spent 2 seasons out here with me. Gorilla lived with me as well, and my buddy Tim, we grew up together in California and moved out here together. Kind of came here for a season to Jackson Hole and ended up 16 years later still doing it.
It wasn't coincidence that he was out there on the hill when the cameras came back to find him in Jackson, because he would be riding no matter what. He, you know, would be rolling sushi at night and riding during the day. That's what Gooch did. Anybody who went to Jackson for the last 15 years, you knew you could find him in the lift line. That's what he did, you know? And unlike a lot of other people in his peer group from that first big early 90s freestyle movement, you know, a lot of those guys, maybe they wanted to do what Gooch did. Maybe they tried, but they didn't have the patience that he had for the sport to catch back up with him.
He wasn't even like getting paid or anything to snowboard. Started shooting with grenade, and somehow he just like carved his way back in with this like eternal legend status, you know? There's like this 2-3 year period where he was just working his ass off, filming every single day, just like stepping up his riding, everything. Before you knew it, he was just like back in the mags, back in videos, you know, Volcom picks him back up, like all this great stuff started happening for him, you know, and now he's where he's at now, and he's the dude that everybody calls when they come to town.
Yeah, like some people could say that, like, oh, Bryan's making a comeback, or he's a sponsored snowboarder again, and that's true, but I don't think Bryan really went anywhere. He was still snowboarding. Like, he just wasn't doing it in front of a camera.
And him and Lance Pittman just started like exploring all these mountains, you know, and like I'd probably say that Gooch and Lance found 90% of the spots that people are filming at now. Now Gooch brings, you know, he's got to show the Volcom crew around and all that stuff, but it's kind of like, well, he kind of found all these spots, you know, so.
He came in with fresh eyes. He's like, you know, there's mountains 360 degrees around Jackson Hole. That's why it's called a hole. Wonder what's up there or up there. So he set off on a quest to go discover what the hell was out there, and you know, I was lucky enough to get on board years later and kind of showed me the ropes.
It's kind of the place where when people just get over the nonsense, you know, they come out here. And now there's like enough cool people out here that it's like accepted. Like, yeah, I'm moving to Jackson. Your sponsors are like, right on.
For like a kid in Southern California to see someone from Southern California leave and turn into like a, you know, like backcountry, more or less like wilderness snowboarder type of guys, like that's definitely inspiring.
I think Harrison Ford is kind of like the Gooch, you know, like Harrison Ford made it cool for like Hollywood people to move out here, and Gooch made it cool for like pro snowboarders to move out here.
Oh, good. We got all the dirt on you now.
Oh no.
I talked so much shit, dude, it wasn't even funny. No, I kept it clean.
Career's over.
Damn it. You spoiled it.
Nah, we kept it.
Nice.
We kept it family style.
Cool.